The maid held the boy's hand as nurses rushed around the hospital room. The billionaire stood frozen, his eyes locked on the DNA report trembling in his hand. 15 years of lies collapsing in a single heartbeat. The maid whispered, "He's your son, and you never even looked at him." Silence filled the air, thicker than truth. A life built on power was about to crumble under one simple test. As if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe. Lila, a poor maid, works in a billionaire's mansion, secretly raising his late wife's child as her own. The mansion smelled of money and silence. Every corner was polished but lifeless. Lila moved through the halls like a shadow, quiet, invisible, yet holding the heartbeat of the house in her arms. The baby Arav cooed softly against her chest, unaware of the walls that separated love from status. She wasn't supposed to love him this much. The late Mrs. Khanna had begged her to take care of the child before dying, whispering through weak breaths, "Promise me he'll never feel unloved." Lila promised, and promises were sacred to her, even if they came from a world that never saw her as equal. Every morning she would sing to Arav before the house woke. The boy's tiny hand clutched her finger and she'd whisper, "You're safe, my little one, no matter what they say." Her heart ached knowing that in this grand mansion full of chandeliers he had only her warmth. When the butler entered, he frowned. "Lila, remember your place. Don't get too attached." She smiled faintly. "I'm just doing my job, sir." But deep down she knew that wasn't true. As Arav grew, she saw flashes of someone she couldn't forget, the man who owned this house. The same sharp eyes, the same stubborn chin. Sometimes when she tucked Arav into bed, she'd whisper, "He'll never know, my love, not until the truth decides to speak." At night, she sat by the window, looking out at the city lights, holding the child's tiny blanket. Outside, the world saw her as a maid. Inside, she was something much more dangerous, a mother with a secret powerful enough to ruin a billionaire. The billionaire, Mr. Arman, barely visits, too busy chasing business and burying memories. The mansion changed when Mr. Arman returned. His arrival was always felt before it was seen. The rumble of black cars, the sudden hush of servants, the weight of his presence. He was the kind of man whose footsteps could silence a room. Lila kept her eyes down as he passed, carrying Arav in her arms. He never looked at the child for more than a second. Once, when Arav ran up to him with a smile, Arman simply said, "Don't touch my suit." His voice was cold, but underneath it there was something, guilt, maybe. Something he buried under money and meetings. Arman spent his days locked in his office, signing deals, building towers across cities, pretending he wasn't standing on the ruins of his own home. His late wife's picture still hung on the wall, but he never looked at it. He avoided the nursery completely. At night, Lila would find him sitting alone in the garden, a glass in his hand, staring at nothing. Once she gathered the courage to speak. "Sir Arav waits for you every night. Just 5 minutes. That's all he asks." He didn't look at her. "Some of us don't deserve 5 minutes," he said, and walked away. Lila stood there watching him disappear into the shadows. She knew that no business deal could buy him peace. The truth he was running from wasn't out there. It was right under his roof, playing with toy cars in her room. Every time she looked at Arav, she saw the same loneliness Arman carried in his eyes. Two souls bound by one lie neither asked for. Years later, the boy, Arav, gets sick. Doctors need a blood match, but no one in the family fits. It happened suddenly. Arav was 15, full of energy and laughter, when one morning he fainted during breakfast. The spoon hit the floor. Lila screamed his name. Within minutes, the mansion turned into a storm of panic. At the hospital, doctors moved fast. Machines beeped, nurses rushed. "We need a blood donor immediately," the doctor said. "His type is rare." Lila's heart dropped. She offered hers a no match. They tested everyone in the staff. No match. When Arman arrived, his expression was all business again. "Fix this. Whatever it costs." The doctor shook his head. "Sir, money can't help. We need a compatible donor." For the first time in years, Arman looked at Lila. Really looked. "He's not mine," he muttered, almost defensive, as if someone had accused him. Lila's lips trembled. "Sir, please." "He needs you." Arav lay weak on the hospital bed, his hand searching for Lila's. "Ma," he whispered. She kissed his forehead, tears spilling. "I'm here, Beta. Always. Outside the ICU, Lila prayed silently, her hands shaking. She'd kept her secret buried for years, believing it protected them, but now it was killing her son. For the first time, she feared the truth more than anything, yet she knew it was the only thing that could save him. Lila begs Armin to get tested. He snaps, "Why would I risk my name for that boy?" Lila cornered Armin in the hospital corridor, her eyes red, voice trembling. "Please, sir, just one test. If you're not a match, fine. But if you are..." He cut her off sharply. "Do you have any idea what you're asking? My name, my reputation, ruined over some maid's child?" Her hands clenched. "He's not some child. He's your..." She stopped herself before the words escaped. Armin's eyes narrowed. "My what?" Lila swallowed hard. "He's the only one who's ever looked at you like you're human." He scoffed, walking away. "You think guilt will change me? I've lost enough already." But the truth clawed at him. That night he sat in his car, staring at the hospital window where Lila held the boy's hand. Something twisted in his chest. A memory of another time, another woman. A promise he broke. He slammed his fist against the steering wheel. "Why does that boy's face haunt me?" he muttered. But he already knew. Somewhere deep inside, he knew. The hospital insists on a full DNA test. The results shake everyone. Twist. Arav is Armin's real son, born from his affair with Lila. The doctors pushed for clarity. "We need both guardians tested for full analysis," they said. Armin reluctantly agreed, muttering something about formality. Days later, an envelope arrived. Lila's hands shook as she opened it, Armin standing beside her, impatient. The doctor's voice broke the silence. "Mr. Armin, the boy's DNA matches yours." The room froze. Lila's tears fell before she could speak. Armin's face turned pale, his hand trembling around the report. What are you saying?" The doctor hesitated. "Arav is your biological son." The air left the room. Memories flooded back. Nights of guilt, hidden meetings, a love that never should have happened. Armin stepped back, whispering, "No, this can't be." Lila looked at him through tears. "You knew somewhere inside. You just didn't want to face it." For the first time, he saw his life without filters, the deals, the parties, the empty mansion, all built on a lie he created. The truth had been under his roof for 15 years. Arav's heartbeat on the monitor was the only sound left. Armin drops to his knees. "All these years, I hated my own blood." The report slipped from Armin's hand as he fell to his knees beside the hospital bed. His voice cracked for the first time in years. "All these years, I hated my own blood." Lila watched him, her heart torn between rage and pity. The boy stirred in his sleep, unaware of the storm raging beside him. Armin reached for his son's hand, whispering, "I wasn't there when you needed me, and now you're slipping away." His tears fell onto the bedsheet, staining it like ink on paper. For a man who ruled empires, this moment stripped him bare. He wasn't a billionaire anymore. He was just a broken father, begging for forgiveness that might never come. He turned to Lila, voice trembling. "Why didn't you tell me?" She shook her head. "You wouldn't have believed me. You would have called it another lie." He looked at the boy again, whispering, "He looks like me." Lila's voice cracked. "He is you." Lila turns away, tears falling. "You wanted a name, I only wanted a child." When Arav finally opened his eyes, Lila was sitting beside him, holding his hand. Armin stood near the door, too ashamed to enter. Lila didn't look at him. "You wanted a name, Armin," she said softly. "I only wanted a child." He swallowed hard. "I'll take care of you both now." "Whatever you need," she smiled sadly. "It's not about money." It never was. He reached out, but she stood up, her eyes filled with finality. "You can build buildings, but you can't rebuild what you broke." Arav looked between them, confused but sensing everything. Lila brushed his hair back and whispered, "Some truths come too late." As she walked out of the room, Armin called out, "Lila, please." She turned once. "You never saw love when it stood in front of you." Ending line, the richest man in the city lost the only wealth that mattered, love. Lila and Arav left the mansion quietly, their footsteps echoing through the marble halls that once trapped their lives. Armin stood at the balcony, watching them disappear into the sunlight. The report still lay on his desk, torn at the edges, a symbol of everything he refused to face. He'd spent a lifetime chasing power, but in the end, it was truth that brought him to his knees. The mansion felt bigger now, emptier too. Moral: truth doesn't destroy families. Lies do. Sometimes silence is the most expensive sin a man can afford. Lila and Arav left the mansion quietly, their footsteps echoing through the marble halls that once trapped their lives. Armand stood at the balcony, watching them disappear into the sunlight. The report still lay on his desk, torn at the edges, a symbol of everything he refused to face. He'd spent a lifetime chasing power, but in the end, it was truth that brought him to his knees. The mansion felt bigger now, emptier too. Moral: truth doesn't destroy families. Lies do. Sometimes silence is the most expensive sin a man can afford.